Ms. McLean, do we need an interpreter for position 7? Do we need an interpreter for position 7, Mr. McLean? You're still on mute.
Is that Morales?
Yes.
No, he's fine.
Okay.
Thanks. Thanks for asking. Sure. No, his English is good. Went Northside High School.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we are going to proceed with our misdemeanor first appearance calendar, also called the expedited accusation cases. These are misdemeanor cases where individuals were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon thereafter, their cases were formally accused by the Solicitor General of Fulton County. This would be the defendant's first appearance before a judicial officer, where I will inform him or her of their new case number. Well, I'm going to pause right now since Okay, I have AC/DC. Do I have courtroom 2? Well, let's wait till courtroom 2 gets online. Are my prosecutors available? Ms. Mokeke? All right, good afternoon. Okay, I just want to let you know the reset date's going to be February 4th at 2 p.m. All right, courtroom 2, we ready, courtroom 2? Almost?
Your Honor, we're ready.
All right. Okay, as I was saying, my name is Judge Law, and this is going to be the first appearance for misdemeanor cases. If you are a defendant accused of one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. When I call your case, I will let you know what's your new case number, the charges of which you've been accused, to appoint a counsel if necessary, and to set a bond. Some of you may qualify for what we call a signature bond, in which you won't have to pay for the bond, but you may have to comply with certain conditions. Failure to comply can result in your bond being revoked or surrendered and amended to either a cash bond, surety bond, or no bond. Those of you who do not qualify for a signature bond today will receive a surety bond or cash bond, depending on your criminal record history and the nature and circumstances of the charges. Okay, courtroom 2, who do we have?
Position number 6, Ms. Mason.
Okay. Those of you who are not an attorney, if you're a family member, a friend, a victim, or so forth, please keep your video off and your audio on mute. Please keep your video off and your audio on mute. Otherwise, the host will do it for you. All right, that was position 3.
6,
Six.
Your Honor.
Okay. This is Anita Mason, accused of simple assault, family violence, case number 25 CR 356C. Ms. Mason, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney today will be Mr. McLean. Any priors, Ms. Harvey?
Yes, Your Honor. 7 cycles. The last arrest was May 9th, 2024, out of DeKalb County for battery family violence. No disposition was listed, Your Honor. That appears to be an open case. 1 prior conviction from 2001 for sale of marijuana, and nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Who's our prosecutor? Is it Ms. Mokeke?
Your Honor, I'll be handling it, Ms. Fawcett.
Okay, all right. Good morning. Good afternoon, Ms. Fawcett. Yes, please proceed. What's your recommendation for bond?
Yes, Your Honor. My recommendation for bond is a $3,000 surety bond to stay away from 3242-14 Spanish Trail in East Point, Georgia. No further contact with Marcus Hatcher, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Mr.
And
McLean?
would you?
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, if you want to give me a very brief recitation, that would be helpful.
Yes, Your Honor. On January 21st, 2025, officers were dispatched to the location of 3242-14 Spanish Trail in East Point, Fulton County, in response to a 911 call from the defendant's neighbor. There was commotion coming from the apartment, and the victim, Mr. Marcus Hatcher, had reached out to the neighbor for assistance due to the defendant having pepper sprayed a substance into his eye.
Okay. Marcus Hatcher, if you're on Zoom, this is the time to unmute or start your video. All right, Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Miss Mason is 43. She has an education that includes high school and Gwinnett Tech medical office assistant work. And she has worked as a prep cook at Ritz-Carlton for the last 6 months. And for several years before that, did turnkey operations for real estate companies. Your Honor, considering what her arrest record is, and considering the facts of this case, her stability, her ability, if the court wishes her to live elsewhere, although it's different apartment numbers, really. If the court needs her to live elsewhere, she can. I've contacted her mother. She would ask the court to consider a signature bond. Thank you.
She lives at apartment 13?
Well, you know, the police report started off talking about 13, 14, and 15. So
I
she
think
lived.
14 is the neighbor who called, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
Isn't 14 for the neighbor who called?
Right.
Okay.
There was commotion in 13, 14 as well. He lives in actual 15. I believe she is on the lease and pays the rent and is the only person on the lease. However, if the other person lives there, she could live with her mom.
Okay. Bond is going to be set at 1,000. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Marcus Hatcher, and to stay away from 3242 Spanish Trail. She can return to her apartment number 15, I guess, one time only to retrieve her personal belongings. And then after that, she needs to update the court with her new mailing address. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons.
Your Honor, can she return after an eviction takes place?
No, you said she has a mom, so
Right.
it's
But I
that
mean,
she lives away from, if the victim lives at number, I really couldn't make head or tail, but I think the victim lives in apartment 13.
I guess what I'm saying is if he's not in apartment 15, can she live there?
Oh, if she wants to go back with an officer and the officer verifies that a Marcus Hatcher does not live at that apartment complex, then she can return to the location.
Very good. Thank you.
But no further contact with Mr. Hatcher. Thank you.
Thanks.
You gotta see in the bench. Next, we could go to position number 4, Mr. Garrison.
This is State versus Christopher Garrison, accused of reckless conduct from January 21st in case 25 CR 358G. Mr. Garrison has been advised of his rights and his attorney is going to be Ms. Armstrong. Any priors, Ms. Harvey?
20 cycles out of Georgia and 10 cycles out of Missouri. Last arrest was November 20th, 2024 for arson out of Fulton County. That case was dismissed. There does appear to be an additional open case for criminal trespass under 24 CR 000-697G. In addition, there are convictions from 2016 for criminal trespass, 2017 robbery, 2018 simple battery, 2020 disorderly conduct, 2 counts of simple battery from 2020, and 2 counts of
That was good. Thank you so much, Ms. Harvey.
You're welcome.
Ms. McKay?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened at 610 Spring Street Northwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Alicia Alibi. The defendant is accused of starting a brush fire at the location. Elizabeth Garcia Hurtado was a witness to this incident and told officers that she saw him do it. The defendant did admit to starting the fire and said that he started it so he could warm his hands. Our office has spoken to Ms. Alibi. She stated that she's one of the business owners at this location. This has been an ongoing problem with the defendant for years. He's always harassing the staff and also the customers. He throws rocks at them and throws them at their cars. He curses and yells at them. She states that when the defendant started the fire, it spread so quickly that her and other staff had to run outside with buckets of water to try to put it out. They, of course, want no contact and want him to stay away from the property. He currently has a $2,000 surety bond. We are asking that that remain the same, that he stay away from the incident location, have no further contact with this victim, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes, Judge, thank you. We're asking for a signature bond in this matter if possible, or a bond no more than $1,000 in this matter. Mr. Garrison reports being homeless, and he was trying to stay warm. Thank you.
I understand the reasons for staying warm. Unfortunately, allegedly starting a fire in a public place. And considering that Mr. Garrison was recently arrested for arson, although dismissed, this gives me great pause as to whether he engages in the practice of starting fires in a public place, even if it's just to stay warm. Mr. Garrison, your bond is going to be $2,000 surety bond. You are to stay 200 yards away from the location at 610 Spring Street. You presently also have a bench warrant in another case, 24 CR 000697G, where a bench warrant was issued by Judge Mather. Thank you. Next court date is February 4th.
No. Your next court date is February 4th. Next, Your Honor, we could go to position number 2, Mr. Avant.
And let me see, Ms. Grace, when we reset Mr. Garrison's case, let's reset both of them, the new one as well as 24 CR 000697G.
Will do, Judge. Thanks.
Mr. Avant. This is position 2, State versus Brendan Reginald Glenn Avant, accused of battery, family violence from September 21st of 2024, case number 25 CR 357Y. Mr. Avant, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Armstrong. Any priors, Ms. Howe?
No, Your Honor, first arrest.
All right, thank you. Ms. Mokeke?
Yes, Your Honor. The victim in this case is Jemias Cooper, who is dating and also lives with a defendant. Officers responded to the area of Webb Road and Windward Parkway in Milton and observed 2 males walking along the sidewalk. By the time officers turned around, the defendant was already gone. They did note that both males appeared disheveled. The victim, Mr. Cooper, told officers that the defendant had struck him several times, and officers observed that his nose was bleeding and his lips were also bleeding and they were swollen. Our office has spoken with Mr. Cooper. He confirms that him and the defendant are still in a relationship and they live together at 13034 Deerfield Parkway. He confirmed the events in the warrant stated while the defendant was hitting him, he was fighting back to defend himself. He stated that in the midst of the fight, he bit his lip and that's what caused it to bleed. He did deny that he had a bloody nose. He states nothing like this has happened before. Him and the defendant have been together since this incident and there haven't had any issues. There's been no violent. He's not in fear and he also wants contact. The state's recommendation, given that this is his first arrest, is a signature bond. We are okay with no further violent contact with the victim on the condition that the defendant undergoes a FBIP, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I would ask the court to sound for Mr. Jemias Cooper.
Cooper, if you want to address the court, please unmute and start your video. All right. I see a Miss Paulette. Miss Paulette, did you want to address this case?
No, ma'am.
Are you involved in this case?
No.
All right, please switch off your video and mute your screen. Okay, Miss Armstrong.
Yes, Judge.
To the signature.
Would ask that you accept the state's recommendation for the pretrial signature bond.
Okay. On the battery family violence, it's going to be $2,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. No further violent contact with Jemias Cooper. He may return to the same household that he shares with Mr. Cooper if Mr. Cooper desires that. And within 30 days of being released, he will enroll in a domestic violence intervention program and report to pretrial by his second visit that he has enrolled in such a program. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and firearms. Mr. Avant, you have a release bond through pretrial services. You report to pretrial once a month. And when you enroll in those classes, you have to attend each of those classes without skipping any of them. Thank you. And you will pay for those classes out of your own pocket. Thank you. Next case.
Position number 7, Mr. Morales.
This is State versus Kevin Morales, accused of battery, family violence from January 21st of this year. case 25CR 355J. Mr. Morales, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Any priors, Ms. Harvey?
Yes, Your Honor. He has 4 cycles. Last arrest was September 5th, 2024 for simple assault, family violence. He does have 2 open cases out of Fulton County. Case number 24CR 006375G, battery family violence, and case number 24CR 006715G, simple assault, family violence. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Fawcett?
Yes, Your Honor. On January 21st, the defendant's father had approached the defendant about his loud music. This led to a dispute. The defendant then pushed, punched, and choked his father, the victim, Mr. Garcia Morales. The defendant's father sustained bruises to his knee, arm, and stomach. The defendant and his father were living together at the time of the incident. The location of 12 Peachtree Avenue, Unit 3, Northeast in Atlanta, here in Fulton County. The state's recommendation for this case is a $3,500 surety bond, stay away from the incident location, no further contact with Mr. Morales, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
All right. Mr. McLean?
I'm sorry, could you repeat I heard the conditions. What was the actual recommendation?
3,500 surety.
Understood. Your Honor, Mr. Morales does have what he has on the arrest record. He went to North Atlanta High School, 11th grade. He's worked for a year in hardwood floors, finishing hardwood floors, and he has generally worked for several years in the construction trades, including plumbing. Your Honor, even if there were a requirement of some counseling, we would ask the court to consider the lowest possible bond, including a signature bond, if that is at all possible. But he's asking the court to allow him to have a bond that he can make.
Ms. Harvey, could you give me those case numbers again? Because I don't know whether he's under a different name.
He is, Judge. He's under Kevin Morales / Ozunia, but I can give you the case numbers as well, Judge.
24CR 006375G.
Yes, Judge.
And the other one?
24CR 006715G.
And is he a pretrial candidate in any of them?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Morales, your bond is going to be set at $5,000. It's going to be a surety bond. No further contact with Garcia Morales, to stay away from 12 Peachtree Avenue in Northeast Atlanta. Your next court date is going to be February 4th. And we are going to be, if you don't bond out, we will address all 3 cases on the SAP calendar. And that's going to be 24CR 006375G, 24CR 006715G, and this new case as well. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 9, Mr. Stewart.
Neil Stewart is accused of battery from January 21st, 2025, case number 25CR352E. Mr. Stewart, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Ms. Harvey, any priors, please?
Yes, Your Honor. 12 cycles. Last arrest was September 17th, 2024 for simple battery out of Union City. That was a conviction, Your Honor. Was sentenced 10/1/2024 to 12 months probation. Also has an open case for criminal damage to property out of Clayton County. That arrest date was June 14th, 2022. In addition, there are convictions from 2020 for possession of methamphetamine, possession of marijuana less than an ounce, and a 2017 conviction for DUI. Nothing further.
Ms. Fawcett?
Yes, Your Honor. The facts of this case are that The defendant and the victim in this case, the defendant's girlfriend, Ms. Deshauna Newsom, they were traveling in a vehicle and had a verbal disagreement. While they were traveling, the defendant attempted to snatch the victim's phone, and the victim tried to get the phone back from her, and this led to the defendant biting the victim's fingers. Our recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Deshauna Newsom, and then no stay away, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And we would also like to sound for victim Deshauna Newsom, who may be on the call this afternoon.
Ms. Newsom? Deshauna Newsom.
Yes.
All right. Did you want to add anything to this case?
We're currently staying together, so I'm not sure how this one works.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
All right. You still live together? Okay, I understand that. But he has been arrested for allegedly committing a battery upon your person.
Yeah.
So how long have you been living together?
For a couple months now, and I'm getting a place next month that we're actually supposed to be moving into together, a house in Cummings, Georgia. But right now we're staying together, we're working together. He just had an interview at the job for Ford. So
Working together? What do you mean?
well, we had this interview at this place together we're supposed to be starting with. And he had an interview last week for Ford, which is a dealership in Alpharetta.
What's your middle name?
Sierra.
Deshauna Sierra?
Sierra Newsom, yes.
So he's already on probation
Mm-hmm.
regards to you, and he's required to have no further contact with you. And what you're telling me now, that based on this incident and that you're living together, he's in violation of his probation terms.
Well, they never told me that he wasn't supposed to have contact.
They don't have to tell you. He knows. He was sentenced.
He didn't tell me that either.
Yeah, that's his problem, not yours.
Okay.
Thank you. You're free to go.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Fawcett?
No, Your Honor. In light of the fact, I'm sorry, I meant yes, Your Honor. In light of the fact that Mr. Stewart has had contact with the victim in this case, even though he wasn't supposed to, we feel that that's definitely signs that Mr. Stewart will reoffend or continue to reoffend. And so we would definitely be asking that the state implement the conditions that we asked for, and also our request for the surety bond in the amount of $3,000. Well, actually $5,000. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Due to that testimony, I would actually increase my recommendation to $5,000.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, we would propose that the court give him a signature bond with conditions that would be appropriate, but he has worked in roadside assistance for 2 or 3 years. He's 37 years old. He's a high school graduate prior to the last 2 or 3 years working in roadside assistance does that by contract with quite a few people through a lot of companies. He also worked at a Nissan dealership. So we court to consider the signature bond if that is possible, or if not, then a $1,000 surety bond.
Well, I would, except that he's now in violation of his probation, so I'm not sure what the state's going to do in terms of probation. But the bond is set at $5,000. It is a surety bond. Mr. Stewart, in case you didn't understand your sentence from the last case, 24 CR 6606E, you are to stay 200 yards away from Deshauna. You cannot have any contact with her. You cannot live with her. You cannot communicate with her. You cannot touch her. You are to have absolutely no communication in person, mail, email, third party, phone, computers, social media, nothing. And now, as a result of this new arrest, I think you may have not only jeopardized your probation, but you definitely don't qualify for a signature bond, because I don't think you know how to comply with the sentence, much less conditions of a bond. As I said, no further contact with Deshauna Sierra Newsom. You are to update the court with your new address once you are released on bond because you cannot return and live with Ms. Newsom. You are to not have any illegal drugs, not consume any, no alcohol, and definitely not possess or own any weapons. Your next court date will be February 4th. Thank you.
You can have a seat in the background. Next, we will go to position number 1, Mr. Abraham.
Okay, this is State versus William Abrams, accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property and criminal trespass from yesterday, 2025, case number 25 CR 354B. Mr. Abrams, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney will be Ms. Armstrong. Any priors, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Two cycles out of Georgia and 4 out of New York. Last arrest was December 7th, 2024, Queens, New York, for assault in the 3rd degree. That appears to be an open case. Also appears to have 2 open cases out of Fulton County for simple battery family violence. Bench warrants were issued for those cases, Your Honor. There are case numbers 18 CR 008969B and 18 CR 008964B, and nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Mulcahy?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at 585 Ira Street, Southwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Miss Michelle Burt. The defendant is accused of entering and remaining in Miss Burt's RV with another unknown individual. He is also accused of damaging the window to the RV. We have spoken with Miss Burt. She states that she doesn't know the defendant and never gave him permission to enter her RV. She confirmed the events in the warrant, stated that the RV is placed in her neighborhood down the street from where she lives. She has had to get the RV towed to get it fixed, and she would like no contact with the defendant and wants him to stay away from the incident location. The state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond. Given his history and his recent FTA, no further contact with the victim, stay away from the incident location, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I would ask the court to sound for Miss Michelle Burt.
Ms. Michelle Birch, if you want to contribute to the proceeding, this is the time to unmute and start your video. I see a Michelle's iPhone, but I don't know if it's the same person. All right, Mr. McLean? Oh, Ms. Armstrong, excuse me.
Yes, Judge. Mr. Abrams is unemployed. He reports having trouble with housing at this time, I apologize. It would ask for a signature bond. Thank you.
On each count, it will be $500 for a total of $1,000 surety. Next court date is February 4th, 2025. And we will reset him with his 2 other cases. And I know Ms. Harvey had just given them to me and I scribbled them somewhere. Here they are. Ready, Ms. Grace? And that would be
Yes, ma'am.
18 CR 008969B, 18 CR 008964B. No contact with Michelle Birch and stay away from the incident location. Thank you. You have $1,000 surety bond. Stay away and no contact.
Your Honor, can you repeat that? He's not understanding.
All right, Mr. Abrams, you do not qualify for a signature bond. You received a surety or good bond, and you would have to pay for your bond through a bonding company or out of your own pocket. Your bond at the present time is $1,000. If you go through a bonding company, they can charge as low as $100 or up to $150 to be released. Your next court date is going to be February 4th, 2024 at 9 a.m. And we will address not only this new case, but 2 other older cases that you have with Fulton County, Georgia.
I don't have access to my money because I lost my wallet.
All right. Then we see you on February 4th.
Next, we go to position number 5, Mr. Marshall.
This is State versus Melvin Marshall, accused of simple battery, giving false information to an officer, and willful obstruction of an officer from January 20th of this year. Mr. Marshall, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any priors, Ms. Harvey?
Yes, Your Honor, 12 cycles. Last arrest was December 9th, 2024, out of DeKalb County for probation violation. On probation out of DeKalb for robbery, sentenced in 2023, 10 years total, 3 years confinement and 7 years on probation. Also on probation out of Richmond County for 2 counts of criminal street gang activity, sentenced in 2019, 10 years total with 2 years confinement, remainder on probation. A 2024 conviction for forgery and theft by receiving stolen property, 1 FTA and 2 probation violations in the past 10 years, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. McCarthy?
Your Honor, this incident occurred at the Baymont Hotel at 2451 Old National Parkway in College Park. The victim in this case is Lakeisha Bates. The defendant is accused of punching the victim in the face. He did admit to officers that he did so, and the assault was also caught on CCTV. When officers asked the defendant for his identifying information, he gave the false name of Jacory Favors and the false date of birth of September 18th, 2002. He then refused to get in the officer's patrol vehicle, and it took several officers to finally get him inside. He currently has a $2,160 surety bond. We ask that his bond be no lower than the amount that it currently is. No further contact with Lakeisha Bates. Stay away from the incident location. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for Miss Lakeisha Bates.
Ms. Bates, if Lakeisha Bates, I do see her, but if you want to contribute to the proceeding, you need to unmute and start your video. All right, Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Mr. Marshall is 24 years old. He's working on a GSU degree, Georgia State. So he's currently a Panther. Your Honor, he acknowledges the problem here with this case. He was very forthright with the officers initially in that admission to them. He has spoken with his probation officer on the cases that were mentioned in his arrest record. Your Honor, he has about 5 years and 2 months to go on that DeKalb case. And thank goodness he only has 2 years of probation left to go on the other case. So he's spoken with his probation officer about this situation, and they have decided not to put a probation hold on him and to let this be litigated without their doing anything yet, or maybe at all if he's lucky. He is remorseful and would ask the court to consider a signature bond. He has I talked to his mother about whether they were making the bond right now, and it turned out that her pipes were completely burst and she won't be able to help, and that's going to be a real problem financially. So we would ask the court to set that bond as low as possible, signature bond if at all possible. He is already under supervision by somebody who has considered this. Thank you.
Right. Ms. Bates, did you want to add to the proceeding?
I'd like to no longer prosecute.
Raise your right hand. Other right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
All right. Face the window so the light shines on you. Otherwise, I can only see your silhouette. Thank you. And the decision to prosecute this case is not in your hands. It's in the hands of the prosecutor. So you don't have the decision-making ability to drop any charges. But you want to have contact with Mr. Marshall.
I am currently pregnant, so yes.
Okay. And do y'all still live at the Baymont Hotel?
Right now, I'm at my mom's house.
Okay, well, he cannot return to the Baymont Hotel, so that's my concern. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Marshall, on the simple battery is going to be $1,000 surety bond. On giving false information and willful obstruction, and those are going to be $1,000 each, and that's going to be a signature bond through pretrial level 2, which means you have a $3,000 split bond. No further violent contact with Miss Nakisha Bates, which means you can have communication with her, but there cannot be any physical or verbal altercations. Otherwise, you'll be back in jail. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and you'll be subject to random screens by pretrial for illegal drugs and or alcohol. Also, within 30 days of being released, you have to do two things. First thing is you have to update the court with your new mailing address because you have to stay away from the Baymont Hotel. You're not to return to 2451 Old National Highway in College Park. And the second thing you have to do is enroll in a domestic violence intervention program and attend and complete all 26 classes at your expense without skipping or missing any classes. If you fail to enroll, if you fail to report to pretrial twice a month, or if you get arrested again, your signature bond portion will be revoked and converted to either a cash bond or no bond. Thank you. Oh, your next court date is February 4th, unless you make bond. Next, please. All right, Ms. Bates, you're free to go.
Next, we go to position number Morgan.
Okay. This is State versus Jaleel Anthony Morgan, accused of battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree from January 21st, 2025. This accusation is 25 CR 353G. Mr. Morgan, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any prize?
4 cycles out of Georgia and 2 cycles out of New York. Last arrest was May 6, 2023 out of Snellville, Georgia, for sale of marijuana, possession and use of drug-related object, and possession of a firearm or knife during. No disposition was listed for that case, Your Honor. 1 prior conviction from 2018 for driving while license suspended or revoked. Nothing further.
Ms. Fawcett?
Yes, sure, Your Honor. To begin, the defendant and the victim in this case, the victim's name is Ms. Katisha Bell. They both share 1 child together, and they currently do not, at the time of the incident, they do not reside together. What happened on January 21st is that the defendant showed up at the victim's residence. He became upset. I believe that she had company. The defendant then attempted to enter the victim's bedroom, even though the victim tried to deny him entry. He ultimately hit her in the face, which resulted in her having bruising and swelling to her mouth, as well as a busted lip. The recommendation is $1,500 surety bond for the battery family violence charge, and then also $1,500 for the cruelty to children charge for an aggregate bond of $3,000 surety bond. We would also ask that he stay away from the incident location of 5555 Roswell Road here in Atlanta, and that he have no further contact with victim Katisha Bell, and that there are no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while on while on bond. And I would like to announce for our victim in this case, Ms. Katisha Bell.
Right. I do see a Katisha on Zoom. Ms. Bell, if you want to address this court, you need to unmute and start your video. All right, Mr. McLean. Oh, there we go. Ms. Bell, please unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Bell, did you want something to add?
Yes, I just wanted to say if you do.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do.
Do you and Mr. Morgan live together?
No, ma'am.
And do you share, how many children do you have between the two of you?
We have one.
One child. How old is the child?
He's 2.
2. And has Mr. Morgan filed a legitimation action with respect to the child?
I don't think so. I think he just signed a birth certificate.
All right, you understand that under Georgia law, he has no right to visitation or custody to the child unless he files a legitimation action.
Yes, and I would like him to do that. We never ever had any type of issues like this before. I think it was kind of like a just emotion thing, and like, I can't do anything about the charges now. But even though I asked him not to press any charges, I just wanted to make a report. He's never showed any type of actions like this before. I think it just kind of was a, split of the moment type of thing. I definitely want him to be able to see his son and be there and do everything like that. Like I said, he's never shown any signs of anything like that before or ever put, like anything like in jeopardy of any type. So, I don't know what say so I necessarily have, but I definitely believe in like it'll never be any type of thing like that ever again.
Well, it's unfortunate it happened, but you hit the nail on the button that it generally stems from emotion things. And well, we'll see what we can do. Mr. McLean, anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor. My 28-year-old client has been studying cybersecurity, so he's got some college already, but has not yet got a 4-year degree. He is a Longhorn server. He's done that for a while. For a year before that, he worked at a Marriott, also in food services and other hotel services. And before that, a different restaurant for a year. I think it would be fair to say, I didn't cross-examine anybody, but I mean, I think it would be fair to say that he does provide for his child. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond with appropriate conditions.
On the battery family violence, it's going to be $2,500. The cruelty is $1,000. The total bond is set at $3,500. It is a signature bond through pretrial services level 2. No further violent contact with Katisha Bell, and he is to stay away from 5555, I think it's, Roswell Road, where Miss Bell and her child lives. In order to have any contact with the child, Mr. Morgan will need to file a legitimation action with the appropriate superior court and get a court order to establish the joint visitation and custody. And Miss Bell, at that time, you can also file a cross claim for child support, or you can open a separate child support case. Also, within 30 days of being released on your signature bond, you are to enroll in a qualified domestic violence intervention program, and you are to attend all 26 classes without missing or skipping any of those classes. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons and firearms. Thank you.
Yari, can you repeat that bond amount?
2,500 on the battery family violence and 1,000 on the cruelty. 3,500 signature bond through pretrial level 2. He reports to pretrial twice a month.
Thank you.
DVIP and a legitimation requirement. All right, Ms. Bell, you're free to leave the Zoom. Next case, please.
And that would be at ACDC.
All right, thank you. Deputy Francois, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge Law. I do have a quick announcement for position number 3. It's Brianna Beard. She waived her appearance.
Okay. Who's their attorney? Ms. Armstrong?
Yes, Judge, I did send that waiver to Miss April Champion. I apologize if that was the wrong person to send it to.
Miss Grace will be fine.
Okay, thank you.
And any other cases, Francois?
No, that was the only one, Judge.
The only one. Okay, thank you. Be safe and stay warm.
Thank you. You as well, Judge, and everyone else.
All right. Miss Morgan, I will answer your question shortly. Let's address Brianna Beard. Miss Beard is accused of criminal trespass under case 25 CR 351H from January 20th, 2025. And her appearance has been waived. Her attorney is Ms. Armstrong. Any priors, Ms. Harvey?
Yes, Your Honor, 13 cycles. Last arrest was December 10th, 2024 for interference with government property. That case is open under case number 24 PI 009017. Also has an open case for simple battery family violence under 24 SC 001028 and an open case for hit and run under 24 CR 008071H. In addition, Your Honor, there are convictions from 2021 for willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, 2020 false report of a crime, also 2020 battery family violence, cruelty to
That's good. Thank you. Ms. Mokeke, what's your bond recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's bond recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond. Given her numerous open cases, there is a concern that she will reoffend. Stay away from the incident location, which is the Speakeasy Lounge located at 156 Forsyth Street, Southwest in Atlanta. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. The defendant and another person, Jamila Granderson, who was on SCE yesterday, were trespassing at the location and refused to leave after an employee spotted them behind the bar of the location.
Ms. Armstrong, anything to add?
Your Honor, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond in this matter. Just that's what Ms. Beard wanted me to ask from you. Nothing else to add. Thank you.
He still lives at I can't remember. Was it Dill Avenue or?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Bond is set at 500. It is a surety bond. We're going to reset her case to February 4th, along with her other open case, which is 24 CR 008071H. All right. And to stay away from 156 Forsyth Street in Southwest Atlanta. All right. I think we had a Miss Morgan who had a question. Miss Morgan, can you unmute and start your video?
Hi, good afternoon, Your Honor.
Hi, hello. Mr. Jaleel Morgan received a signature bond through pretrial. He needs to report to pretrial services twice a month.
Okay.
He must update the court with his new mailing address if he has one, on the one, unless he still lives in Alpharetta.
Yes, he resides with me, yes.
He has to enroll in a domestic class program, which is 26 weeks long. And if he wants to see his child, he must file a legitimation action. No violent contact with Katesia Bell.
Okay.
And he has to stay away from her home.
Got it. Okay, understood. Will he be released today, or because I did hear 24 hours?
Yes.
Okay. So it's nothing as far as the signature means that he I got it. Never mind. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Then
have a great day.
Oh, thank you. All right, position 1, Abrams was a $1,000 surety, reset to February 4th. Position 2, Avant was 2,500 signature bond for pretrial. For the notice. Position 3, Miss Beard was a 500 surety, reset to February 4th. Garrison is a 2,000 surety, reset to February 4th. Marshall's a 3,000 split bond, reset to February 4th. Position 6, Mason's a $1,000 surety, reset to February 4th. Morales is a $5,000 surety, reset to February 4th. 8, Morgan's a 3,500 signature bond for pretrial. For the notice, and 9, Stewart's a $5,000 surety, reset to February 4th. We good? Any changes? No? I'm just waiting for someone to give me any corrections. No? We good? Okay.
Good, Judge.
All right, everyone. Be good. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.